What is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh.
Fighting climate change right now is going to help you right now.
We've got some bombshell news here. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today's top story here. Donald Trump is coming in and just dropped a whole bunch of executive orders. We've got the former UK Prime Minister saying that Mark Carney would be disastrous for Canada and how he was terrible for UK when he was over there in charge of the Bank of England. We've got Pierre calling out the CRA for their illegal activity. Let's jump into this. First up in Canada here, we've got the federal government is set to inject millions more into the CBC, pushing its annual subsidy close to $2 billion to compensate for plummeting ad revenues. How about we pull all of the funding and let the CBC fend for themselves? Trudeau boosting his ego and propaganda network of total lies. We got this one here posted by Cat Canada. So we've got Keenan Bexty from the Counter Signal here interviewing the former PM of the UK, Liz Truss, warning not to back Mark Carney. So I did see a news article on this as well, but we got a video here straight from Washington of her saying exactly this. Mark Carney is a dangerous man to have running our country.
Just wanting to get your thoughts on Mark Carney and your relationship with him while you were Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and any advice you have to Canadians who think he might make a good Prime Minister.
Well, Mark Carney was Governor of the Bank of England, and under his tenure, too much money was printed, which did damage to the British economy and put our economy off track. He, at the last election, endorsed Rachel Reeves' economic policy. She's now become Chancellor. It's been a disaster for Britain. The country is heading for bankruptcy. So I would strongly recommend not backing Mark Carney or his policies on net zero, which have been disastrous for Britain and would be disastrous for Canada.
Do you trust his judgment overall, outside of ideological considerations?
Well, I believe that he made major mistakes in the management of the Bank of England. He has pushed net zero, which has been a disaster, not just for the UK, but for many countries across the world.
Thanks for your time, Prime Minister.
Mark Carney's already been pushing his net zero policies through Canada, through Justin Trudeau. He is Captain Carbon. He is the King Carbon tax guy. He's the last guy we should have running our country. And he's going all in on this. I've got another clip up here showing how many positions he resigned to take on this sinking Liberal ship. It's quite alarming. But first off, let's take a look at what the people have to say. Carney wants to continue what he and Trudeau began, overspending, printing more money, chasing impractical environmental goals, all while the weight of all these decisions fall on Canadian people, not himself. He did his job as JT did as Biden, bankrupt the country for the great globalist control. It is not the New World Order, it is their takeover agenda. This clip here of Mark Carney was from his announcement leadership run speech, and he's asked about his jobs, his conflict of interest, specifically the amount of money he makes in these companies, which he doesn't answer, but he lists off all the companies he's a part of.
And you're a senior executive at Brookfield, and yet your compensation has not been disclosed. Can you tell us what your compensation over the past 3 years has been and how you will manage?
You see that reaction on his face? Look at this. He didn't like that. He's like, yeah, right. I'm not going to tell you. That's what that face is.
Over the past 3 years has been, and
no longer a senior executive at Brookfield. I am no longer a senior executive at Bloomberg. I am no longer on the board of Stripe. I am no longer on the board of PIMCO. I am no longer on the board of any of my commercial activities. I am no longer the UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance. So all of those roles, I resigned today. Okay, just to be clear, I resigned all my roles, cut all my ties. I am all in. I am all in this fight because it is so fundamentally important. And what I'm bringing from those experiences and the previous experiences, Bank of Canada, Bank of England, fighting the financial crisis, helping to fix the global system, what I'm bringing from those is to help Canada through this immediate crisis, but really to build the strongest economy in the G7. Thank you very much.
Do you have lingering?
Just think about that. How many positions he resigned to take on this sinking Liberal ship. This guy's got an ulterior motive. No one's just going to take that over and just be at the helm of Trudeau's ship that's going to the bottom of the ocean. We need to keep our eye on this guy because something's really stinks.
To be clear, we have a very robust conflict of interest system, rightly so, and ethics standards for the government of Canada. As soon as I merit being part of that process. Remember, I'm a citizen that is running for a position. I'm a citizen who will be putting himself forward to become an MP. As soon as I'm part, with success of the government, then all those conflict of interests and disposals and other.
As soon as I'm apart with success, he knows he's being planted there by the Liberals.
Their requirements come into place, and I will absolutely proactively engage and follow them.
And as a candidate, what are you doing?
Well, I just told you. I literally just told you. I have resigned all my positions. I resigned all my positions. Full stop. All in for Canada. Thank you very much.
And then he leaves. Didn't like that one. Carries 3 passports. The central banks of Fed are largely responsible for the demise of currencies worldwide. One post he didn't say he resigned from was the WF. We got Pierre here, talks about the CRA and their nasty business they're doing, charging the higher capital gains rate, even though it wasn't voted in. It is not legally just to do that right now. It's not in law. Even though it was the plan, it is not in law.
My question is about the additional capital gains tax, which we learned recently that it is already being collected by CRA. Now, from a layman's point of view, I think this is illegal. But my question is a little bit broader than that. How do you prevent public service from overstepping its authority and in fact encroaching on the authority of the parliament? Thank you.
Well, good question. First of all, the capital gains tax increase will make Canada one of the most highly taxed jurisdictions for investment in all of the developed world. So it's very simple. Capital goes where capital grows. And it can't grow when you've got the highest taxes on investment anywhere. And it's going to kill 400,000 jobs, this tax increase, according to C.D. Howe. That's why I will reverse the tax increase. Your question was about how CRA is enforcing it, even though it never passed Parliament. Chrystia Freeland announced it, she introduced it, but it never got voted on.
Right.
And yet the tax collectors are implementing it. This is insane. And it should be illegal. The 800-year-old tradition of parliamentary democracy, going back to the Magna Carta of 1215, is that the Crown cannot tax what the people have not voted. It's very simple. No taxation without representation. Exactly. That was the reason for the American Revolution, the Tea Party in Boston, was that the Englishmen who were living in America didn't want to pay a tax that they had not voted for. So this is hundreds of years of tradition that they're violating by imposing a tax that no one has voted on. It's totally illegal, and it's not the first time. When COVID started, Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau tried to pass a law allowing them to have unfettered ability to raise any tax to any level at any time for any reason without a vote in Parliament, which tells you exactly what their agenda is. They think all your money is their money. That is the hardcore socialist mentality that they have. It is very dangerous. It is destructive to our economy, and it's why so many people are so poor. When I'm Prime Minister, it will end. I will be cutting taxes, massively cutting taxes, and I will be cutting bureaucracy. You mentioned bureaucracy. I will be cutting bureaucracy. We don't need so many costly bureaucrats. We're going to slash the bureaucracy, and we're going to slash the consultants and all the money that's being wasted in this big, fat, morbidly obese government. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pierre dropping the straight goods there. So yeah, against the law, CRA is breaking the law. If anyone out there's got a business that's getting charged on that, I don't know what to tell you. Tell the CRA to buzz off, pay it, and then come back later, sue them? I don't know. CRA needs to refund taxpayers with interest paid. We're being taxed to death in Canada. They should be arrested. Yeah, they should be. Whoever at the top made that call, they should be put in jail for this. How about charging all CRA department heads in charge of implementing with illegal seizure with theft? This guy's unbelievably sharp and knows his stuff. Yeah, he knows all the history and everything. He just pulled that Boston Tea Party out right out of his hat there. Like, perfect example. Most politicians try to dance around pertinent information, yet this guy tries his best to cram as much info into his answers because he's very familiar with it. Yeah, you can just tell Pierre's got so much up there, so much knowledge and information to draw on. He packs information in there versus just kind of tiptoeing, as this guy's basically saying. He needs to be prime minister. So I've got a brief 25-second clip here of Donald Trump. So in the beginning of the day, he wasn't going to put tariffs on Canada, and halfway through the day, now he is, or at least he's thinking about it come February 1st.
What are you thinking on tariffs U.S. on Mexico, given these actions you're signing on the border?
Well, we're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
When do you think you would enact those?
I think February 1st.
Are you planning on keeping notes of that?
I think we'll do it February 1st.
There's a longer clip somewhere that says, is that 25% on both countries? And he says, yes. It's time to start doing business with every other country in the world then. That would be the ideal solution here. Start getting energy east and northern gateway pipelines built and start shipping our energy to other countries. This is pretty simple what we need to do now. Unfortunately, Justin Trudeau's weakened us so badly, we have very limited options. And with these now once again looming tariff threats, we got this one here. I like this guy, Kevin's post here. It says, I dare any liberal shill to watch this and say Danielle Smith is a traitor or treasonous. She's 100% spot on.
This morning, and we were talking about the First Minister's meeting, and he said, we got a grade of 12 out of 13, which is like an A+ grade, but it's not perfect. Presumably Alberta was the grade that they didn't quite get. And then you have Premier Ford saying that it left him with the impression that maybe you weren't putting Canada first, you're putting Alberta first. What do you say to that?
Well, I can tell you I would never go out publicly and say we should stop selling car parts as a way of making a point to the Americans and hurt Ontario. I'd never go out and say we should stop selling aluminum to Americans as a way to make a point to hurt Quebec. And it hurt me that they felt that they could make that same argument that Alberta should sacrifice our interests in order to try to advance some kind of trade war. I take a different approach. Let's stop fighting with each other. Let's maybe try to remove some of the internal trade barriers. Maybe my fellow premiers can stop blocking pipelines when we propose them to either the west or east coast. And maybe this should be a moment of reckoning for us as a country. That part of the reason all of us look north-south is because for the years have made it very difficult to do business east-west. So maybe that's what we should be talking about, is each other so collectively we can sell our products to the world, whether it's to America or whether it's off the west coast or whether it's off the east coast. And maybe that's a far more constructive conversation to have than how do you sacrifice one province's interests in order to be able to protect the rest. And fortunately, we don't have to have that conversation today because we don't have tariffs and we have the ability to have both of those conversations, a constructive conversation with each other and then a constructive conversation with our American friends.
So for sure that conversation is not today. There are enough things for people to talk and worry about today. But somewhere there is a playbook about what to do if the conversation has to happen tomorrow. And if the conversation comes down to a potential export tariff or a ban from Canada, from Ottawa, what's in your playbook?
Well, my playbook is to talk with the incoming Secretary of the Interior and the incoming Secretary of Energy and ask if they want to double our oil and gas production and double our oil and gas export. That's where I'm going next. I believe that we should be talking about how we sell more to America, not less, and that we should be talking to America about how we can buy more from them too. If they really are concerned that we're not buying enough, well then let's buy more gas turbines, let's buy more AI infrastructure, let's buy more military equipment. This is the constructive conversation that we need to have, and I think we need to stop with the threats and start talking about diplomacy and collaboration, because that's where we're going to find a solution.
Okay, Premier.
Yeah, she's spot on. Where's Justin Trudeau? Once again, he's sucking his thumb. He's in Quebec having a retreat with all his friends. Meanwhile, you got Danielle Smith here in Washington, really trying to solve the problem here for Canadians. Next up, we got Doug Ford here. He's threatening to remove U.S. alcohol from the liquor stores if tariffs are imposed. Somehow, I don't think that's going to shake things up all that much. We're also seeing this, signs that say White Lives Matter spotted in Toronto. Interesting times here in Canada. And we've got this buffoon, Captain Schmuck. Just listen to this guy. Just rant and rant and rant about climate change. In this pivotal moment, he's still going on about this.
It's really easy to scare people into being even more anxious and thinking even more short-term and more limited.
Has that been your playbook the entire time here, Trudeau?
Pressures we're facing are not going to go away. They're only going to get worse, particularly around climate change, which will worsen every other challenge we're facing, whether it's geopolitics, whether it's economic pressures, whether it's supply chains, whatever it is, migration challenges and the like. Climate change makes it all worse. So people are stuck in a situation where they know climate change is bad, but they also know that if they can't put food on the table this week, and if they can't stabilize their living situation this year, how bad it's going to be 10 years from now, or how terrible it'll be for their grandkids, has to fall second to taking care of their family, their loved ones, and themselves right now. Fighting climate change right now is going to help you right now.
What a load of crap, Trudeau.
In your job right now, in your family finances right now, in how you feel right now about the future.
This guy is the biggest idiot in Canadian history. That's right, folks. If you want to have a better life, you can fight climate change, and that'll help you right now in your job, right now. Hungry and don't have food to eat? Climate change, it'll help you right now. Kids soccer too expensive, can't afford anything because everything's too expensive in Trudeau's Canada? Climate change right now. That'll save you. That'll save us all. This guy's got to go. He's an absolute disgrace. We got this post here as a reply. It was Trudeau's heat pump subsidy a scam to make Mark Carney money. Brookfield Asset Management, chaired by Mark Carney, advisors Trudeau, subsidizes with your tax dollars heat pumps manufactured by Train, partnered with. There has to be jail. Like, there has to be jail. Enough's enough. So with all that Canadian news, let's jump over to the American news, because there's a lot of bombshells that Trump has dropped today. And we're just going to rapid fire through these. First off, Trump withdraws from the World Health Organization.
What is this week?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh, that's a big one.
We got this one saying Trump is going to sign executive order to only recognize 2 genders.
It will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female.
Wow. We've got this one where he withdraws from the Paris Climate Accord.
Next item here is the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty. We're going to save over $1 trillion by withdrawing from that treaty.
We've got a rapid fire of a bunch of them here. Rescinding 78 of Biden-era executive orders. There's a freeze on federal regulations, freeze on federal hiring. Federal workers must return to full-time in-person work immediately. Directive to address the cost of living crisis. Directive to restore free speech and eliminate government censorship. Directive to end government weaponization against political opponents. And we've got this one here where Trump designates Mexican cartels and Venezuelan gangs as foreign T-word organizations. And we've got this one here where he's already shut down the El Paso border. He's acting fast.
Beyond this point will result in the arrest, prosecution, and possible application of force.
So one thing to note about this, with so much swift action, the tariffs didn't come in, as you saw in the earlier clip that he said February 1st. There's still time for them to negotiate and talk about this. So the fact that the tariffs didn't just land today, they could have. So that is a good thing. We still have time here to see if Danielle Smith or someone, obviously Trudeau and all his liberal buffoons aren't going to do anything about this, but maybe Danielle Smith or someone else can sort out this problem here before February 1st. We've also got Mark Zuckerberg peeking in on Jeff Bezos' wife's shirt here. There's a video of it too. This guy must realize that there's cameras everywhere watching him. Not sure his wife is going to be too appreciative of this clip. It's good to hear Pierre talking about CRA tax. The CRA is illegally taxing people. You know, the problem with this is we got the CRA illegally using this tax rate. Why should Canadians pay tax anymore if the CRA is not going to follow the law? Why would we follow the law? They're setting a standard that is just break the law. Like, why should any of us pay tax anymore? Does the CRA care to comment?